Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. Got a special guest today, the OG. Hey, where have you been?
Man, OG, man, back. What's up?
Who's the OG?
Been everywhere, man. I've been, a lot of things have happened.
You've been everywhere but here, man.
No, it's just things with health that have happened. That I was out even for my own channel as well. So,
yeah, you have.
Yeah,
you realize that when you do it, that it takes a lot of effort and time.
It does, right? Yeah, that's right.
There's only so many projects you can do, right?
Yeah, that's 100%. But I'm back. Back to getting better, in my health, and more content for everything as well coming soon. And shout out to India, won the World Cup.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, he had to plug it in.
That happened last night.
I'm generally trying to find the last episode you were in. So if we did the 2024 Australian recap before you, that means that January. It would have been like maybe the first episode.
Yeah, it was started here, I think. Yeah.
Apple Vision Pro.
What's happened to that?
That's slump. All right, look. Let's get your health even worse. Speaking about the so we're doing a little bit of a pivot in terms of the podcast, where we're going to focus on issues relating to Gen Y and millennials, right? Which we sit in, right? But I think, look, the topic of the hour is you have to be living under a rock if you haven't seen snippets of the Donald J. Trump and Joe Biden debate. So look, this has an impact for all generations, really, but we're going to live straight into it. And unless you've been living under a rock, like, it is the news article at the moment, right? Everyone's talking about it.
It's everywhere. It's all over my social media. It's all over the news. And yeah, I don't know. You made me watch this.
For a variety of reasons. I heard somewhere that it was the most watched. I mean, 2024, we're halfway in. The most watched non-sport program so far of 2024.
Really?
That makes sense, though. If you think about it, like...
it's important. So, yeah.
I mean, even if it wasn't those two, it would garner a fair amount of views, right? An American presidency is whether, you like that stuff, you don't like that stuff, it's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, there was a lot of interest in seeing how these two would face off. It's the first face-off they've had in years, I guess.
2016, I think, was the last one, yep.
And I think, there's all these questions around the current president, right? that everyone wanted to see answered. And, well, man, I think there's a lot of questions that were answered, but a lot more that came up as well. Yeah.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Well, it's under 2 hours. We both watched the whole thing. Yeah. Just in one hour. It was just a very difficult thing to listen to, right? Like, inherently, like, I came out of it just thinking, what's happening here? Like,
I came out of that thinking, like, there's like this fog in my brain.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know what hit me.
Yeah.
But, it just was a lot of incoherent babble.
Yeah.
Look, for me, the thing that summed it up was the fact that the way I could sum it up was, we had, Biden, who unfortunately is very incoherent at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, he's old, he's elderly. I don't know if there's dementia involved.
Yeah.
And then we had Trump doing his usual, con man shenanigans.
Yeah.
Which I guess if you were to really look at our reactions to it, if I was an American as well, for my generation, you'd think that there's no hope, right?
Yeah,
I think for the future of America, like that just, they've been going down a slippery slide since Afghanistan and everything that came out there publicly, how they left.
Yeah,
but you look at that and it looks like some sort of South Park episode. Really? Like, it does, doesn't
it? Yeah.
Like, I watched that douche and turd episode of South Park, a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, this is worse than that. Somehow, it's more of it feels like more of a parody than that.
It was a hard watch. So look, I don't think you and I are like political experts. From last year, with the Vivek Watch and all that. Yeah. So we've dived into it. Yeah. And I think, look, even we know that, like, for like the GOP debates, which we were really like amped up about, like all those candidates, Vivek included, Nikki Haley, all of them, they were cloak and daggers too, right?
Yeah.
But it was coherent. It felt you were willing to be, not willing to be sold, but like at least you could understand the chain of thought, and it aesthetically it sounded good, right? It felt like there was a unified vision, regardless of if you agreed or disagreed, right? So what made this really hard was, I mean, here's the thing, right? I know for a lot of people that they've watched only extracts in social media.
Yeah.
So we already know what the headline is, right? Joe Biden's cognitive decline, which we all kind of, I mean, if you're anywhere near there, like you go in knowing that there was going to be stuff like that, right?
Well, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because the cognitive decline, I felt like didn't get much media coverage before this from all of the media, the mainstream media outlets. It's like they
not mainstream.
The right wing ones were bringing it up.
Yeah, but of the podcasts that are listed, it was front and center, right?
But like, I felt like everyone just woke up to the fact that he is that now. And I was like, this has been going on for a while now. They've been trying to hide it, the White House. But this has been going on for a long time. And, well, it's just very publicly became like, apparent that, Joe Biden is probably not the guy.
That's interesting you say that, because for me, it was always there. But that's the sort of news that I consume, which isn't like, your CNN and all that sort of stuff. But just double click into that. So when you first started seeing the viral clips, and then you went in and actually listened to it in entirety, was this the first exposure for you at scale, like to see how he was stuttering, like was this the first time, or did you hear about this?
Well, like on TikTok and like all the social media, you sort of see the clips, right?
Yeah.
And like, maybe he's like just missing like a step and he's stumbling or he's going and doesn't know where to go after a speech. Like, you see that. Yeah, but this is the first time I've seen it for like an hour and a half.
Okay, so
right?
Fair
so
enough.
This really it opened my eyes even more than it was. I was like, to the point where like, even, we saw Van Jones on CNN like right after it be like, this can't go ahead. Yeah. And he's a very staunch Democrat. He's like, this can't go ahead. Right. Like, I think Van Jones is friend with Joe Biden as well. Yeah. Like I've known him my whole life, but like this is, I don't think we can go ahead with Joe Biden as a nominee. Something has to happen. Apparently there are conversations as well happening at the moment.
Yeah, look, there's a whole betting market of them like trying to find a new candidate, and we can go through that a little bit later on. But yeah, again, just to hammer on that point, I think it's interesting because in the circles and media that like I've been consuming, it's been a number one conversation sort of point. Yeah. So it's interesting because like there are a couple of narratives that come up when you hear about it. We haven't even started talking about Trump specifically. But Americans, the American politics is really deeply rooted in the whole debate format, right? Adversarial debate specifically, right? So the scenes were set up for Donald Trump, which who knew was going to play. We know the playbook of Donald Trump at the moment.
We've heard it before. We've heard his spin that he does, his little, his usual shtick. Like we've heard all that, right? Yeah. But what I found very interesting about him and his behavior on that night was it really did feel like he was holding back against, like, really pointing out that there is something wrong with with the opposition. He said one line, but even that I felt like was still a little bit. He wasn't attacking, and that was maybe strategy, right? Like to not attack Biden on his cognitive ability. It was more like just like
he did say it once or twice.
He said it once or twice, but he wasn't like usually if Trump gets something like he can attack someone and he just goes all in on it. But he wasn't doing it on that. He was doing it on a lot of the policy stuff. Yep. He wasn't doing it on his cognitive ability. And that was probably, I'm guessing, strategy, right? To not look like he's attacking the old man. But it was interesting to see Trump's behavior because he was lying a lot. That's the thing, right? Like, this is what we're talking about. Like, you have one person who, is very, you can see his cognitive ability is down and he's trying to tell the truth, he's trying to combat these lies, but he's just sort of mumbling everywhere. And then you have someone that's outright just like lying. And it's just like, if you're viewing this, like, I don't know, like for me, it felt like, is there no hope for the world? Like, is there literally no hope for the leader? Because America's been seeing the leaders of this world, right? Yeah. And like, that's why this is a worldwide thing to me, because like, they're the leaders of this world, and these are the people that are going to be leading, and they just both look like they're not suited for the role anymore.
Yeah, I think, let's go into Donald J. Trump. Yeah, like, I think he presented himself very well. I mean, again, the term that comes to me is like, in any debate, there needs to be a winner, right? Like that's how we're triggered and trained. But to me, I mean, obviously, Trump, quote and unquote, won it. But did Trump win it or did Biden lose it, right? Just by, default, Trump was equally bad. Like equally bad. You mentioned that he lied.
Well, he wasn't answering any questions.
Well, that's exactly it. And I think the format, because the moderators were not. I mean, remember in the GOP debates, there were times where the moderators were not attacking, but really going like fact checking or like going down a path of trying to hold the candidates accountable. In this one, there were elements of it, but they, for the most part, they let the candidates speak whatever that they wanted. A
question would be asked, and then what would happen is Trump would just go back to whatever Biden previously said for his next minute.
Yeah,
and it's just like, and then like the host would either forget the question, or they would remember and go. Actually,
I mean, I don't think they're forgetting it. Yeah, there were a couple of times when they redid it, but I think they knew what they were going to get from Trump. And there was one. There were so many examples of that, but. You remember the one that they were talking about? Was it climate change? And then he starts talking about water.
Yeah.
It was such a it was 1 hour 40 minutes of that, and it was just you came out of it. I would have loved to see like in real time the graph of fallouts, because
they requested no crowd to be there, so that's an interesting thing, right? Because they would have been equally confused. Right?
Okay.
But there hasn't been low crowd for about 60 years. That's 1960s.
Look,
there was no crowd sort of thing, but they instituted that here in this one.
Aesthetics matter, right? For the president of the United States and for almost any president of the world, aesthetics do matter. And I think here's where, when you like... let's just say this wasn't for the presidency. Usually in a debate format, you have a couple of different things, different criteria. One is the argument, how well it was communicated. One is maybe like the presentation. The other is like criterion, verbal delivery. Yeah. So if you both strike them as pretty average for content, maybe Trump just coming out of ahead, in terms of display, poise, and just optics, let's call it optics, Joe Biden, that split screen, there was so many times, if you freeze the split screen, he looked like a White Walker. And I don't mean to say, no, but I don't mean, like, no, he looked so pale. I know it's his normal face, right?
He looked confused as well.
I think, you know what? I'll tell you what. You freeze some of my videos, I have a resting bitch face too. So I'll be the first to say it. But what I mean is...
this guy for a long time.
I will say that, any of his poses looked like really confused and like anxious. Like it just wasn't a good look. And Trump, he has this like, this like, sort of like I don't know like what it is.
Like, that's the thing. He was instructed not to go after Joe about his cognitive ability, but you could tell from his body language, he was like, what is this guy saying? What is with this guy? I don't understand. Like, he was just like, but like, I don't know. It's just, Joe looks very confused up there. I saw a video after of them helping him down.
Yeah, like it is. What does that mean? But I do get it. And again, this all goes to the fact that the leader of the most powerful country on the earth. I mean, you've got like Putin on one side. You've got like all those like.
Well, this brings in the question, right? Like, there's a lot of wars going on right now in the world. Yeah, and an American president is very important to keeping that peace. Yeah, like we've seen that throughout the years, and I don't know, is the cognitive ability now hindering the world? Like, that's what we have to think about. I mean, is there something like, where, if Putin does like strike in some sort of way, right? Yeah. How is a Biden as commander in chief? Is he able to sort of handle that situation? Like those are real questions I think America now is asking.
Well, hold up. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but we do know that even for both of them, like they have cabinets that decide the overall sort of direction, right? Like,
but at the end of the day, it's the president that makes the final call on things. So
does.
If his ability is hindered,
Yeah.
then, I mean, that does bring in a lot of questions
I mean,
as to why.
The other way to think about it is even, you're right, the president has the final say, and arguably like a very heavy influence in the overall direction, right?
Well, here's an example. Biden said that the Border Patrol, they love him and they endorsed him, right?
Yeah.
And then like an hour later, the Border Patrol's Twitter union, they're like, we have never endorsed Biden ever in anything he does.
Yeah.
It was maybe like a policy or something that they endorsed, but it wasn't Biden that they endorsed. And it says they made it very clear on their Twitter that they did not like Biden. And it's that sort of stuff that like, well, if he's remembering things differently, what else is he not remembering? Like very important things, I'm guessing, right? As the commander in chief, that you would be like, he'd be forgetting stuff. And I mean, like, we probably don't know right now what it is, but like, I reckon after his term is done, like a lot of stuff is going to get uncovered as to what.
Yeah, I think
things have just been forgotten.
Well, hold up, man. Like, I get it. He has a whole cabinet and a whole team. I think So
this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's, you start thinking about it right now, right? That's something. The effect on us is that, and it will be a lot of American people, is that you start to think about all these things now. Like,
you do.
Wait a second, there's two major wars going on right now.
Yeah.
Is Biden's ability, his cognitive ability, like, is it hindering anything like that in talks and all this other stuff, and like actually trying to harbor peace? Is that is it hindering that? There's so many, the causal effect of something like that is massive.
Yeah. Look, there's no doubt that like the president wears many hats, like in a country, right? But like, if you are like
in the world,
the embodiment, representation of your country, even if, say, for some reason he had no say in the strategic direction, but he was delivering it, he was that end totem pole to delivering it to the other leaders of the world. Yeah. Do you trust him to communicate it? I think that's the main thing that like people can soundly say. The answer is no, right? The other stuff is all valid and all fair, but probably not taking into account that like. Here's the other thing that just boggles me, right? We know what Trump is, right? And arguably, let's talk about what a Biden alternative could look like, right? But within the Democrats, surely they talk to him. They talk to him. So surely they knew. Like, I was listening to the All In podcast, Shamath and the guys, and he made a point like, look, all of them get prepped by like debate squads and stuff like that. So what the hell was the guy doing? Like, or the girl, like, I don't know. Like, what was their team doing? Surely they knew that they were leading a lamb into the slaughter, right? And this is like this is not like some debate for a school. It's not even a debate for a country. It's a debate for the world, right? This is the biggest stage. This was the biggest non-sport watching video for this year so far, right? So they know this going. They're smarter people. If Joe Blow like you and I can come to this conclusion, we've got to think, what is, like, I'm not saying something like sinister is going on, but what is the real end game? If you know there's so much money that goes into it, why are they still endorsing him? Even though I know that they cannot kick him out per se. It's not like Australian politics. He needs to voluntarily resign. And the irony is, like, after that, they went to their own sort of parties, and like apparently all was good. It was one of the impressions that they won that debate, which is lunacy. Like, what is happening here? Where you have some really smart people on the Democrat side, they're seeing this, but they're allowing this train wreck to go through. It can't be that they did not think that he could like possibly hold himself at neutral. Was that like the best outcome? Because at neutral, he still would have lost. That's the irony of it.
That's the thing.
Maybe he would have won because of how bad Trump was. They were talking about golfing, man. What the fuck was like? They were talking about golfing handicaps.
Yeah, that's like, I don't believe
that
it's 3 years ago.
We talk about golfing.
So I'm going to go there. I think there is something sinister. So, we on this podcast, we delve into a lot of conspiracies and stuff as well, right? But look, for me, I think there's something going on where I think there's a deliberate attempt to show that they do want to obviously replace him. Now, there is a problem with that because I think it is too late to do that now on a lot of ballots in a lot of states. Like, you will not be able to pull him out. His name would still be on the ballot, but no votes would be counted if you voted for him. So a lot of that is happening right now in the US. So,
sorry, what do you mean? Like, if they can't change it?
They can't change him, yeah.
They can, but like the vote wouldn't count?
Yeah, the vote wouldn't count. And just
because his name would still be on the ballot.
Yeah. And I don't know if you could put another name on the ballot. See, that's the thing with American politics. There's all these different states. Like, you have to take into account will have their own rules. But I would have thought that, this is like 4 months out. And here's the problem. Jill Biden is just going, yay, go, like you're 100%, like to Joe.
Well, she has to, so I can't. Like
Joe's like, nah, come on, man. She has some responsibility here. I mean, come on.
Optically, she has to. She has to. She's just support her husband. I mean, you think she's gonna like lambast him in public? If that
was my partner, I would take it. I'd be like, no.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do it in public.
No, obviously.
But what I'm saying is, you're seeing the public version of her.
Yeah.
Like, but we don't know what's happening. Like,
I mean, I've heard talks with that Barack Obama has had now with all of these people, and look.
Oh, hold up. Speaking of Barack, like most of the Democrats are saying that it was a bad day at the office. I'm going to read you Obama's tweet. All right.
Yeah.
This is the real Barack Obama. All right. Yeah. June 29th. All right. Bad debates happen. Trust me, I know. But this election is still a choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself. We know it. Between someone who tells the truth and someone who knows right from wrong and will give it to the American people straight, and someone who lies through his teeth and his own benefit. Last night did not change that, and that's why so much is in the state. NovemberJoeBiden.com. They're still advocating for him. They have to.
Well, like, there's the other
but he can also say nothing.
Yeah. What? I don't know if this is some sort of long game, right? To like,
long game for what?
Well, I've heard rumors that they don't want Kamala to be the next. If Joe Biden goes, they do not want Kamala because she'll not win the election. Like,
I heard she polls was, but hold up.
I've been hearing that Michelle Obama is what they're trying to get the replacement. But like how they get there, I don't know, because it has to require Joe Biden to say, "I can't do this," right? Are those conversations being? I mean,
he would do like the other polling numbers. Like his polling numbers would be down.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, after like this, in 2 weeks' time, we don't know. They're going to have another debate, I believe.
Yes, there is another one.
So,
and like Biden's confirmed his attendance.
Of course, he's going to confirm it. But like, but you get what I'm saying? Like, there is chance to change things a little bit. But like you said, like has the train left the station? Because it feels like within the optics. Here's the thing. Ironically, they do have a shot to right this ship, the Democrats I'm talking about specifically, because I really do feel that Trump's like participation in this debate was equally terrible.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
And then you could just rationalize and believe to yourself.
Because we got to also take into account Trump at the end of this term, if he does get elected, will be the same age as that Joe Biden is right now.
Yeah.
Right? So
look, I think Joe's degrading at a faster rate.
Yeah,
like even physically, like
because like it was very apparent when I saw an old clip of Joe Biden from 2014.
Yeah, it was better, and
I was like, "Oh my god!" Like if you see the comparison of them, you're like, "Look, I think Joe's like he's gonna give it up. He has to, right?" See, like that seems like the logical sort of thing. But like we've seen over the past year, the White House staff just completely hide the fact that he has this. They don't allow reporters to ask any questions of him. They always hurry him off. Like this has been going on for a while now.
It has, and you got to ask yourself why. Because here's the thing: when I saw like Joe and his wife after the debate at those little rallies that they did,
yes,
it was very comfortable.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's like you could not think it's the same guy. So you want to play? Yeah, no, I actually don't want to get down conspiracy theories, but let's put two and two together. When there is extreme stress and cognitive load in terms of asking dynamic questions and you have to think on the fly, it's a load. Like at his age, he did that when he was younger. Like let's put some respect, right? So he did that when he was younger. Like all marks. He's not there now. But when he doesn't have to do that, he's playing the role. So what's the role? Figurehead.
When he has his speaking,
so we're saying that there's strings being pulled somewhere and things that can be moved, and that's why
you don't want to hear the strings, man.
Anyway,
I know what the strings are. Apparently, they're Barack Obama. That's what I've heard.
What about Gavin? What about Newsom?
He won't get it. They could put Gavin Newsom in, right? But like, I just don't think he'll win. Like, I don't think he has a chance of winning, right? And that's where, like, that's probably why they're keeping Biden. Like, incognitive, Biden is probably more better than the alternative of maybe Kamala Harris.
But are we saying this by virtue of like donations and stuff like that, like reputation? Like, what component of it? Because we do agree that maybe like let's say pure on debate and stuff like that. That like if he does this a second time, I don't think it's going to improve.
Well, I think it's losing voters, right?
But what if aren't they losing already as a whole? Like
they are.
Yeah, so the Republicans are gaining ground, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want? You want a participation award to lose less? Like,
yeah.
like how are we playing?
I think Joe would like the participation award actually, but no, sorry. I don't want to tease Joe. But yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? This is what the Democratic Party has been accused of for a long time. They never forward plan anything properly. Like, this should have been they should have had a candidate lined up 4 years ago, because they should have seen Joe Biden's cognitive ability then and been like, okay, obviously Joe's not going to be like, our, candidate, going forward. Yeah. And Kamala's definitely not. I'm sorry, but like all the stuff that said about Kamala, her time as I think it was a governor general of LA or something like that. It was very bad, apparently. Yeah. And she's not a very popular woman to get the whole of America.
Yep. It's not a guarantee that the vice president automatically.
That's not a guarantee. Yeah, that's right. We've seen it before. Yeah. I think it was it Lyndon Johnson? I think there was something like that. There's similarities there where it's happened before. But like, yeah, I mean, who is it? Gavin Newsom. I don't know. They haven't planned it. That's the problem, right?
But you're saying that mechanism-wise is actually not possible?
I don't know. I read it wasn't. I read that like it's actually getting very late now.
It is. If he goes in the second debate, it is too late.
Yeah.
It should like
they have to go with
Biden. They are betting
unless
polls.
something critically happens to Biden in terms of like.
I mean, if he says he can't do it, then he can't do it.
That could be it. Like
that's a fact.
Because he critically or he himself goes, my ability to lead this country is diminished. Then he can't. There are some medical problems. That's when it can, I think, happen. But I think if I don't know, but like that's the thing, right? Like it feels like it's an election that's already lost for the Democrats, and what's there to lose by going with someone new if you're already losing, right? This has lost a lot of people already. Right, because that centrists of America, they decide elections. The swing votes and all that. And, so you've got to.
I think that's the point. That's what you were saying, right? Yeah. For those that are not into the election cycle or sphere, you're not going to watch the GOP debate. What the hell am I going to waste time watching that for, right? But if you're like those swing votes, you're going to watch the first debate. You're definitely going to watch the second debate now because you've heard of how much of a train wreck the first one was. Yeah. And they're going to decide.
Bigger viewership.
In America, are you allowed to not vote? Yeah. Like, is it mandatory?
Yeah, you are allowed to not vote. That's the difference between America and Australia. You are allowed. That's why I can't imagine that'd be such a massive encourage chunk. A lot of the minorities to vote.
Yeah, because it can change things, right?
Yeah.
Such a big deal.
And that's what Trump has accused Biden of, right? Is that the fact that you're getting all these people from across the border just to vote for you. And like,
it doesn't even make sense, but
yeah.
So you're gonna.
I don't even think they'll be interested in voting. They don't give me like, I don't know, but
I don't want my records in anything like this.
But it's going to be interesting what happens, right? Because there's a lot of issues that they've, obviously, I feel like Trump on the issues, some of them he was actually pointing out a lot of truths that weren't like there wasn't any great response from Joe about.
What are you talking about? Like immigration and that specifically?
There was the immigration part. There was also
He's big on immigration. I didn't get from any one of those candidates an elaborate or concise, thought out response from any policy level. So I can't. Maybe it's there.
well, to me, it was hard to hear. It really, I was
Well,
totally-
but even on Trump, I'm telling you, like I did not get. I got grandiose statements,
yeah.
but like it as an elaboration, I find it very challenging, and I'm sure it's there, by the way. Like, so it doesn't come with me comments for no freaking reason. Yeah, like I'm sure it's there, but what I mean is, again, think of the average Joe Blow that comes in. Yeah. There's nothing that Trump said that reassured me or that gave me a standing one-liner on his position or his main elements. I remember when Vivek, he kept talking about bloody fracking and moving, there were points there, right? You don't get that.
One point where people are saying that Trump really won it, well, they in their eyes that really won it, was when he said that he didn't really want to come back. That he was made to come back because of how bad it is currently, and that's what people are saying that like that to them felt very honest from him. In an hour and a half of lies, they're saying that was actually probably the most honest Trump was, and everyone is buying it apparently.
you remember? I don't know if that was in Australia, something like that. They have like an audience graph or something like remember back in the day the worm, right? That's an Australian thing, right?
Yeah.
What would it show? Sentiment, positive, negative kind of vibe, something like that.
Right, yeah.
God, I wish they'd have something like that. But like you need an
They
audience.
have that in American elections, I believe. That is an American election.
Is it?
Yeah.
That was like I haven't heard that, but like I can understand it. I can believe it. Okay, let's tie it back to the purpose of the podcast, Gen Y. How does this affect us? Let's talk about it worldwide specifically, right? Like I think you kind of articulated it very correct. You're coming out of this just, dude, man, like here's the thing, right? You're coming out of it like, I don't like any of these choices.
Yeah. I mean, like
what's happening?
To me, it's coming out of that is the feeling of no hope, right, for the future of this world. That's what I felt after that. Like the leaders of this world, these are the leaders of this world, these two?
Yeah.
Like that to me felt like, I don't know what just happened, but that is not what we want in a leader. 100%.
Yeah.
And look, we've just come out of COVID, so there was a lot of period of no hope, right, in the world. And to just sort of come to this, it's a bit, it is a bit like, it does have an effect on people that these are the people that are supposed to be the leaders and they're just not there. And it really does bring into question politics as a whole, right? Because
I don't think we see like the best versions in Australia too. It's just that the Americans have like louder microphones.
Yeah.
But their outliers are definitely more extreme. It's just,
we've got extreme stuff here too.
you know that.
Oh man, I can't talk about that.
That's not going on camera. But yeah, I think we're going to live into whichever candidate wins, right?
Yeah.
And barring like it's on the cards to have this switcheroo. Like it's being talked at pretty aggressively. So if that happens, we would be the generation that would have lived through that. Has that ever happened? If Biden all of a sudden changes like this far in, I don't think has that ever happened?
It's happened in the 19th. I think Lyndon Johnson.
So
that's happened ages ago.
Okay, it's happened ages ago, right? So our generation is in bloody uncharted territory.
It is, yeah. And I feel like that's the sort of like that's what's happened recently with our generation. We've been in so many uncharted waters.
Yeah.
That it's starting to become a bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's just feeling like our generation's dealing with a lot of this, a lot of the unrest in the world, a lot of the things that are going on right now. Like, COVID was a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we're getting this, like, which to me it looked like a parody at first, but
yeah,
it's just, I can't believe it. Like
it could have been.
But we've also lived through something like George Bush, right? Junior.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous when you're thinking about that sort of era of American politics and how he looked completely stupid as like for optics, right? Like this guy, how the hell is he president? He doesn't know what he's doing. Like,
so yeah, let's go down the Gen Y track. Like, look, I'm not saying Vivek is that like I know I keep going
He's
back.
our hope, man.
I keep going back on it, but I guess like when I think, you know, back in the days, like it's a nice exercise that you ask young kids, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And then maybe in a classroom of whatever, you'll have some person that dares to dream to be, I'm going to be the president of the United States, right?
Yeah.
You don't have that anymore. Like, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I can tell you in Australia, like if you say that, I would be shocked if you even get one, if you get like 5 in an entire school that says that they want to do anything in politics or that. And when you're growing up and this is like what you are seeing, all the best talent gets siphoned into area people like the most, and we're going to talk about this too. Dear mom and dad, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up. That's what people want to be, right? Yeah. And I guess what I'm saying is, for our generation, we're at like an interesting road where like Gen Y is like 28 to 40, right?
Yeah.
Arguably, there is maybe someone watching that's on the outer edge of that could probably contribute to society and stuff like that, because we need proper empathetic leaders. I really wonder, and I think in America it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Just because you kind of need to dial up. Like that's just how, you know what I mean? Like
That's how everything is in America.
How everything is.
Exaggerated.
But I wonder what like an empathetic, clear, concise winner could do. And I don't think I think in politics, unfortunately, that's just not the dial, because you need to fundraise, you need to do all of that all that sort of stuff. And it kind of lends itself to specific sort of characters. But you're right. It further perpetuates what is ironically like one of the most important jobs in the world. Yeah. And like you're like when you hear those two speak, you're like, there's no way you'd hire them as like a CEO of a company. I mean, and you say that, and then Trump is actually a CEO. Like, but that's the irony of it, right? That's what makes America so great.
It does.
That is generally, like I was talking to my wife Trish about it. I'm like, the fact that Trump can like all the things that he's going through, and whether you agree or disagree, there is generally just affirms the tagline, you know, if you can make it in America, you can make it anywhere, like New York or all that. But at the same time, it just
that's an interesting thing. So like, just FYI, I do work in like local government. That's my that's my role. That's the world I'm in. So this is actually something that I have a lot of knowledge in and experience in. And I can tell you, like, a lot of the people that work in government, they all have this thing to them that they are all wanting in some way to make a difference.
Yeah.
Whether that's at your local level, at your state level, at your federal level. There's this inherent sort of, thing about them that they really do want to make a difference. I mean, but at the opposite of that, there are also people that don't. They want to use the system to boost themselves, and that's all it is at the moment.
Yeah,
that's what you get in government. You get that, you get those two sort of things, and sometimes one goes over the other. Sometimes it's the other's doing well. But I saw an interesting interview that Ann Coulter did with Vivek, right? Ann Coulter, Republican, completely, and Vivek, obviously, the new Republican, whiz kid, and she said something very honest about Vivek. She's like, look, you're a very well-spoken guy. You're very articulate. And I agree with what you say, but I would never vote for you. And that's because literally, and she's like, I'm sorry, but like, you're Indian. You're Sri Lankan. Like if I'm going honestly to say that I would vote for you, that's not what I think of when I think of America. Right. And I think our generation, that the one that's 28 to 40, we are the new breed of politicians. We are the Viveks. We are I don't know who else is in that age bracket that is good, but we are that level of politician. We're in that age bracket, all wanting to make a difference. And you're right in the fact that I think there needs to be a new wave of empathetic leaders. This is all very old style sort of politics, and we're seeing it play out right now. Yeah, with Biden and Trump. This is all old style. This is all old school, and it's all tired and done, and like we're sick of it. And we are at that age now, millennials. We're at that age where we have to rise up and actually, do something about it, because look, I feel that in my role sometimes. Why I joined where I joined is because I really wanted to make a difference, right? That's I've been through private, I've been through all this sort of stuff, all these companies, but nothing is more fulfilling when you do work for your community. And to me, that is what a lot of these, as a millennial, I feel a lot of people feel. And we need people like that in government, in all levels of government, because it is something fresh. It's different to the norm.
Yeah.
It's actually that I don't know if that's an old school sort of thing that used to happen before, and now politics has become this big sort of shit show, to put it lightly. But that's where we're supposed to be headed, I reckon, as a generation. We have to be looking to become leaders. We're not at the moment.
Yeah.
Because all these people are still holding on to their posts, doing this old school style of politics, which is frankly out of date. And you'll see a lot of people not connecting with what's going on. That's why a lot of people like Vivek. He doesn't talk like they do. He doesn't, and it's not even a race thing. This is a generation thing. He doesn't talk like they do. He doesn't talk like the normal.
I mean, I'd
politicians
like
do.
to think if Vivek was like Mexican, I'd still go.
Yeah, that's the thing,
Like
right?
if he was Anglo-Saxon, I'd still go for it. If he spoke how he spoke and delivered and had a way of articulation and thinking, the race and color and creed should not matter.
That's the thing, right? That type of I think we as millennials, we are that rebellious generation, right? We're the ones that came through the 90s and really rebelled against everything, and we've been through all that. I think we have to now become leaders and rebel against what's going on at the moment.
Yeah,
because these are people that are holding on, and these are the boomers, right? That are
categories.
I'm sorry, but these are that generation that are holding on to an old school style of politics that just doesn't work anymore. Like, we're literally seeing America go around in circles.
Yeah.
All this stuff, and it's not connecting with anyone. But we need something fresh.
Yeah.
We need something different now. And this is what I reckon a millennial can bring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting times. Like, there's a real chance that like things flip and like they do change someone. Like I'm not even a Republican. I respect Vivek a lot because of the fact that you look at him and you go, this guy isn't like these guys. There's something about this guy that just doesn't. I mean, maybe he's better at conning people. I don't know, but the way he speaks, the way he talks, the way. It just feels like he's not like them. And look, we saw a little bit with that with Andrew Yang as well on the Democrat side, right? Yeah.
But we've got to stop, because we always hear about the political elite, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of this political elite. But, I mean, that's all going to be broken at some point, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, how does it get broken if...
It gets broken by this generation that were grown up to be rebels.
Yeah, but the generation has got to want to contribute at that level, and I guess that's the thing. Yeah. If you think of any job or industry or or even like sporting team, you think about it, the ability for it to move forward into the future is the pipeline of people that want to join it. Yeah. And I guess that's the main thing. If you have your best and brightest minds that want to be capitalist, all that, I want to create the next ChatGPT, OpenAI, and all that. Yeah. Like, these are the same minds that imagine the good that they could do if they were incentivized to like work at government level. Yeah. So I think that's the challenge that we see, because you're right. Like, how is this sort of debate, like how of all the debates in the world to watch, like to have such a big number, like why are we watching? They are so, you know what I mean? That's why you can go year 12 in like someone's school and get a more intellectually stimulating debate. And
that's why I said it feels like we're going in a circle, like again with these guys. Like, these are the guys. Like, this feels like something we're retreading. Yeah, and it's just like it feels worse, right?
It does feel worse. It does feel worse. Look, I think we're going to see what happens in the next few weeks, and the actual elections are on November-ish, right? Back in
November. So we are about 4 months away, I believe. Yes, 4. Yeah. So that's not long.
Nah,
really
it's not long at all. So if anything changes, it needs to happen now. If not, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
I suspect to be back here soon. It's bumpy ride.
We're going to do that. All right, guys. Like that's the end of this week's podcast. Leave us some comments below. What did you think about the podcast? Biden or Trump? Who are you going to vote for? What do you think? And how do we change the system? Like how?
Yeah.
Like conceptually, what needs to be done? If you're a millennial, if you're a Gen Z, I'm interested to chat some Gen Zs because I actually think that it's Gen Z and one's a Gen Alpha. Like that's actually the generation. Like it just takes time for stuff like this to permeate its way.
Well,
through.
are we millennials too jaded from this?
You can't. I think you can. I think you know when you're in too deep, and I think that's the other thing, right? You're right. We were like the first generation that started rebelling. But the thing I like about Gen Z is like they just feel the need to amplify their voices, for their opinions to be heard. Yeah. And there's something annoying about that, but there's also something really admirable about that. Yeah. And it's that sort of energy, let's call it energy, that can spark change. And hopefully they've got youth, depending on what you consider youth on their heads as well. So hopefully
I think we as millennials have a part to play.
I think so too.
I mean, like, we've got to facilitate that change because, at the moment, it does feel like a lot of people holding on to stuff.
Well, we hold like votes in terms of numbers as well. And you know what? The other thing as well, like we've talked about this too, at like voting, especially at local level, is like I never really cared about my vote.
That's right.
Like you'd vote because like in Australia, if you don't, you're going to get flogged with a fine, right?
Yeah. And I talk to a lot of people who don't really know what's going on locally.
A lot of because people are jaded about politics. And that's fair. Like you can kind of... it's fair.
But
like,
if people understand how it all works, right? Like how the funding works, how it also goes down to local level.
Yeah.
I think they would care, right? But they're just it's one of those things where there needs to be more sort of light on it, really, to get millennials more
engaged
and thinking about a career in it.
Not going to be me. Anyways. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to the podcast. Give us a thumbs up, leave some comments below, and we'll see you next week. Bye.